I mean, right
Uh,
now I have.
okay, can you see it now?
How weird. Hold on, I'll refresh.
Okay.
No. Oh, wait. Hold on. Yep, there you are. Okay. How weird. All right, YouTube is messing around with you. You've got.
Yeah, it says I'm on, but then I went back off and went back on. So are you saying we've been off the whole time? Because people have been asking questions and responding. Let's see. Yeah,
I
I
have
see it
not. I have not seen you at all. When did you come on?
about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so we've been off and we just went on live. So Vicky, we're gonna rewind and play. No problem at all. Thank you, Scott. Because on my screen I can see it.
Oh, Allegra said you have been off, just came live.
That's insane because it tells me I'm live.
We've been talking to you guys a lot.
We've been talking to you guys a lot. Yeah, we've been reading on talking about everything. So Scott, thank you for looking out there.
No sweat. All right, have a good show. Talk to you later.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Scott is awesome. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. So we're going to rewind and play just a little bit. We've been talking the entire time. We're going to leave it up to the YouTube gremlins trying to interfere. So I started out by saying about the famous yesterday. I was listening to you guys. I will admit I fell asleep for just a second and then woke up to literally everybody on the planet laughing. It was hilarious. And I explained to Vicky about the nomies that Scott really likes gnomes, which I thought were creepy up until I got to know Scott a little bit better. Because when I think of, I mean, because we're in the US, obviously. Oh, Vicky said she just got the notification. That's so weird. We're in the US, obviously, and we're in the South. And when you think about gnomes, you think about just the garden gnomes, and
Mm-hmm.
they are things that children's nightmares are made out of. So they're not cute. They're not anything. But like they've been making literal truth and lots of ideas to kind of bring them forward. So it's kind of really cool. So I'm going to reintroduce Vicky because we've been talking to ourselves and nobody else, but that's fine. Um, Vicky is someone that I used to worked with for several years in a corporation. And you can see one of my dogs is always running around in the background. We wanted, several of you had talked about to start your own business or wanting to branch out into something else, which is part of why I brought Vicky on because Vicky used to work with me in a very, very corporate environment. You guys know I'm in banking. She was in banking as well. And then decided that she wanted to kind of branch out and do her own thing. So I tried to tell you guys I want to bring content that you can kind of use or at least use for somebody else. Allegra, yes, thank you for hitting the like button because I was seeing those go up too, and I'm like, this is so weird. But that's YouTube. That's the way that happens. So, Vicky, we're going to kind of start back. Let you introduce yourself. She is the owner of a clothing. All updates are posted in the Discord. Yep. So Allegra's great. I don't know how she does all of it. She keeps us up to date with Discord. We have a lot of what's called mods. Mods, Vicky, just so you know, are people that can kind of control the chat a little bit because some chats get kind of, I'm going to call it interesting because, I try to be kind.
Yes,
In
I have
other words,
comment on my stuff sometimes, and I'm like,
you're like it's the opposite of trolls. So you know how trolls are ones that comment on, that's a terrible color or you're too fat or you're too thin or you're too pretty or you're too not. They kind of keep those comments from getting crazy in YouTube chats. So it's really appreciated. And going back up a second, so that I can go back through some of the comments. And I'll let Vicky introduce herself because I went through them. I was talking to all of y'all. That's hilarious.
Vicky T. I love your name too. Vicky.
Yeah,
Hi.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Vicky, the somebody was talking about the Tish and Tennessee coins instead of the time traveler coins. That was really awesome. Loud and clear, Liberty. Thank you. So I did at the beginning say a lot of love going out for T Rocks. She is not feeling well at all tonight. We got a lot of people in our community that are having a lot of things going. Let me go back. Hey, Linda, good to see you. May the Faye, Rihanna. I feel like I'm repeating what I said a minute ago. KP, awesome to see you as well. Lori, um, Liberty as always. Linda B, always awesome. Let's see. Terry, thank you for joining us. Lori, Catherine, All the Nomies B, hello to you. I think I've got almost everybody. I'm scrolling through. As you guys know, I'm still learning as I go. May the Fae, hello. I think we were in an earlier stream together. So, and Scott, as always, because we wouldn't have done, we weren't online had we not had Scott on.
Yeah, thank you.
Gina, sending you especially some love. I know it's been a little bit tough for you the last little bit. We're glad that you took the time to be here, and thank you, Linda DB, for the Tish in Tennessee tokens, another triple T. Yeah, Scott, I'm going to steal that just a little bit. Let's see. I think I got everybody. Liberty says a day after famous. I'm making cinnamon dough ornaments for my kitchen. That sounds amazing. I wish I could cook and do that kind of stuff. Just not talented like that at all. All right, Vicky T. Hello, Vicky in the house. All right, so let's go back. I'm gonna let Vicky introduce herself. She is the owner of Everyday Lady, and she started it completely on her own, guys, from ground zero. So Vicky, kind of go back what we just talked about hey Donna as well, about how you got started, why you started it, what it took to kind of leave. You still worked, but you had a very, what a lot of people call a higher end successful position, right? A lot of
Yeah.
responsibility. Could have gone a lot further in it, but then you made a different decision. So talk about how you kind of Liberty does say it's easy, just cinnamon applesauce, you roll it out and bake it. Yeah, things like that sound easy until I actually tried it, and then I'm lucky if I don't catch things on fire. So I pretty much use an air fryer and stay away from anything else. All right, Vicky.
Well, hi everyone. I am glad I get a redo because I feel like I was saying everything I wanted to say anyway the first time. So I got all my like nervousness out because I've never been on YouTube before. So I'm
Welcome.
nervous. But I'm Vicki Sheridan. I own Everyday Lady. It's a clothing boutique. I'm online only at the moment. And I carry sizes small through 3X. I've been open for 1 year as of December 1st. So I survived the first year of business. Tish, I think, is pulling up my website.
I am.
I do have a full-time job as well. So like Tish was saying, we used to work together. I worked in corporate banking. I was a branch manager for a very long time. And I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. I had worked my way to the top of the ladder. And when I looked down, I was like, cool, I just did all this work for someone else. And I wanted to do that for myself and do what made me happy. I had to have a surgery that really changed my body. And I was feeling really self-conscious about the way I looked in clothing. And I'd always wanted to open a clothing store. And I'd bought a book about how to open a boutique. I just needed a business plan. So I sat down one day while I was working at the bank and I wrote my business plan out. And I was like, okay, what do I want to do? I really want clothing for the everyday lady. I want clothes that anyone can wear to feel confident in, whether they work from home or they're a mom or they're going to brunch, whatever that looks like. And I really want to be size inclusive. And I just want to be like an everyday, like I'm not an Instagram model. I'm a normal person. That's what I want my brand to look like. And I was like, everyday clothing for the everyday lady. And then I thought, wow, that has a great ring to it.
Has a great ring to it.
Yes. So I looked it up. I got it copywritten because no one had it. And I got all my licensing, all my tax information. And like I said, I read a book on how to open a boutique and I bought a domain and I learned how to build a website. So I watched all these free YouTube videos on how to build a website, built my website, and here I am.
Yeah. So you said earlier, which you guys did not hear, again, we have grace all the way around, is that you always wanted to own your own boutique.
Yes.
And you wanted to call it Vicki.
Very Vicki. I used
Very
to want to
Vicki.
open a boutique in high school, and I was like, oh, I'm going to open a boutique one day, and I'm going to call it Very Vicki. But Everyday Lady has way better of a ring.
Yeah, it does. It does. And one of the things I really like about your site, and one of the reasons I want to bring you on is, guys, it's a very beautiful site. So don't take it the way it's going to sound, but it's not a slick website. And what I mean by that is it's obvious that things aren't photoshopped. You have great lighting. I love the way you can click on things, but it's not where you're trying to make it look perfect.
Yeah. And when I first started, those first 3 photos that you see there are all from my iPhone. So I didn't have a camera. And then that 4th photo, I had an actual camera. I saw a free business coach and she was like, you've got to get you've got to get a camera. Your iPhone isn't going to cut it. And at first I was like, it's cutting it, it's making it. But really the camera made a huge difference. Like, it's just funny to look at where I started and where I'm at a year later. And nothing on my website is over $60. So I really want it to be like affordable and attainable for all women, regardless of their size. I would love to carry up to 5X. It's just very difficult to get clothing beyond a 3X. But right now I do.
We talked about that because a lot of times people who, are a bigger size talk about, why is there not more available? And what you tell me, actually, I didn't even know about, that it's really hard to get clothing to even be able to show.
So vendors carry sizes small through extra large or small through large, and then they'll carry extra large through 2X, or they'll carry 1X through 3X. So you can't buy the same item in small through 3X. You have to buy it in small through large and then extra large through 3X. So then I'm having to go through and find vendors who, number one, make all those sizes. But sometimes I'll have an item where I have it in small through 3X, the same shirt, but other times I'll have like certain things that are only in sizes 1X through 3X and certain things that are not. Someone said, how many vendors do you use?
Yep. How many vendors do you use? That's
right now. So I use a website. It's called Fashion Go. You have to have a reseller certificate to get to be on this website. And I got my reseller certificate through the state of Tennessee. I had to give them my business, my tax ID, my business.
Well, and she's US, which you guys did not hear earlier as well. So this is true for the United States, but I'm sure it's similar anywhere.
But what size is small in the United States? I'll tell you that in a second. But so Fashion Go has tons of vendors on it. So there's all these options. So I had to really research which ones carry the sizes that I like and the quality that I like. So I probably use about 3 different vendors, and they are vendors that, where I live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, no one else carries these brands. So that was really important to me as well. But they carry plus size and it's such good quality. So I'll have them send me a couple of pieces in my size. I'll try them on, and then I'll say, okay, I want this and I want that, or I don't want this.
So we've got a few comments I want to go read. So this is our first time on a StreamYard. So I star some of them that I want to make sure, because what happens in YouTube, and guys, if you're ever watching a stream and you wonder, did they not see what I just put on? It's very possible they didn't, because all the comments scroll up, and if you don't catch them, there's a limit to how much you can scroll up. So I try to star everything as I go. And the reason I let people know that is because I've been in the audience thinking, why didn't they just say or answer my question? It's because they very well may not have seen it. And there are things that they can see in the chat that we can't. So a couple of things I starred. Tish in Tennessee, I should try the air fryer. I incinerate everything and end up going hungry. To be honest with you, I cook with it every single day, frozen to food. So if you want me to hit you up with it, yes. Liberty or Death, Tish is the best hostess, gives you a practice run before she takes you live to get all the wiggles out. Yeah, and the thing is I try really hard to be on time, guys. I know that sometimes some of the people we know and love run a little bit late, but I try really hard to stay on time, which is hilarious.
She's always been on time since I've been.
Vicki not only worked at the same company that I worked, she had the pleasure or displeasure, depending on the way you want to think about it, working directly with me for quite some time. So Linda DB, if nothing else, it's an excellent diet plan. Yeah, if you burn everything, that's a good diet plan. Allegra, be sure to check out Vicki's site. Yes, please go have a peek. And one thing I like about, of course, Vicki is a friend of mine, but one thing I like about it is that inclusivity that you do, which is very, without drawing out that you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you're not really.
My marketing is not like, oh, I cater to plus size, or, oh, I cater to this or that. It's very just like.
You just cater to people.
Yes. And KP, thank you for saying you love this human focused concept. That is like my whole brand. I just want everyone to feel like, oh, that person looks like me or has my body type.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not an Instagram model. Yeah, I don't put filters on the photos because I'm like, that takes away from the clothing.
There's no filters. Let's see. Oh, talked about the closing cozy. The domain name is important. Also, grab the domain URL first. Yes. So
Yes.
even as I was starting, with YouTube very recently, and I was telling Vicki the way that fell into it. Vicki knows that I've got boxers and I've got them on my Facebook page, and everybody's like, "You need a YouTube channel." So I kept getting told that like every other day. But I was like, no. So I was up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, happened to run into Scott Cardinal, who is in the chat, and thank God he told me we weren't on or we wouldn't know. And they were doing something to the effect of his guest would sing if somebody donated money to charity. And Vicki knows I love charity. I especially love children's charities. Because I was lucky when I was in high school, I had scoliosis really bad. And being a small business owner, it was going to be really expensive for us to go to Vanderbilt. So we ended up going to Shriners Hospital, which is a hospital here. So anything that gives parents a break or anything that's focused towards children, I'm all in. We got to talking and then started guesting on some streams and then started trying to do my same thing. But like I've got my domain Tish in Tennessee already locked down. I've got my email Tish at Tish in Tennessee locked down. So I think taking time, if you do decide that you want to take a hobby into a business, to kind of do some research in your area, do some research in your state. Liberty said we've had Shriners right next door to my X-ray school campus here in Houston. Yeah. I went to the one in Lexington, Kentucky. So we were lucky. I mean, we could afford it, but you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars by the time we'd be done. And if you want to humble yourself, go volunteer because they were bringing people in from all over the country. Let's see what else. Got the copyright domain. Liberty or death. I'm not an Instagram model. I'm a normal human.
Yeah.
Hell, even they don't look like that. It's called filters. Yep.
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 And I do not.
No filters here, but yes, it is called filters. And really on YouTube, even a lot of times when you're looking at people, you're looking through filters. You just don't know that you are. So that's something I don't have on. I have on lighting filter, but other than that, that's all I've got on.
I got nothing on.
The boutique has given me some 90s throwback vibes in the best way. All that's coming back in, but in a cool and trendy way. Yeah, I agree with that as well. So that's one of the things that we talked about offline. How do you decide what to put in? Like, as in, are you looking at trends? What are you looking for when you decide to choose what you're going to choose?
I mean, obviously looking at trends is important. But I really look at things like I would wear. I'm like, I feel like I'm pretty trendy, but I try not to get overly trendy to where it's like the polka dots and not polka dots, but like, like a polka dotted pair of pants. Like you wear those one time and everyone's going to be like, oh, those are so cute. But when you wear them again, they're going to be like, it doesn't have the same effect. So I really I really try to look for things that you could wear anywhere. So if you,
and it's a very different from what we, what I still wear, but what you had to wear before with the very clothing.
Yes.
With complicated.
It's a very like everyday wear brand. So it's casual. Honestly, it's pretty casual. I do have a couple of pieces that you could dress up, but it's just everyday clothing. So that's what I look for. Things that I like. I'll do polls on my Instagram. Like, should we give it or should we get it? Should we not get it? And try to get, my customers involved and things like that. But really, I just look for things that I think that would look great. And I'm a 33-year-old woman, and it's hard for me to find clothes that I like and that are age appropriate. They're either too young and like don't fit me right, or like crop tops, which crop tops are cool. If you want to wear a crop top, wear one. I'm all for it. Do you?
But, you're like, you do you, but
yes. But I'm a 33-year-old woman and I have a full-time job. And I work, luckily, as an executive assistant, so I can wear casual clothing to the office. Yeah. So I just try to find things that almost anyone could wear, regardless.
And we talked to, again, you guys didn't hear it, so we're kind of going back in our own view. That you bought a book is how when you first started to decide that you wanted to, I want to try this. So you bought a book, literally bought a book, and then did your domain, and you had all of that set up before you launched anything.
Correct.
Right.
So I was working on this probably like 6 months before I launched anything, and probably about 2 months before I even told anyone. The only person who knew was my husband. But yeah, there's this really great woman who owns a boutique, and she wrote a book. I'm pretty sure it's called like the something guide to owning a boutique.
We'll
And
find it and I'll put it in the link.
she
So I will
has
say,
everything in there from what state you're in and what tax information that you need in the United States to like own a boutique. How to like if you want to build a website, where to go. Like I use a website called Shopify, and luckily Shopify, you pay obviously a monthly fee and you have to buy your own domain, but they give you really great tools to kind of build your own website. And in her book, she gives you options of websites that you can use depending on what type of, if you sell clothing that you make or clothing that you don't make, and like which route to go. And so it had a ton of information in it. And so not everyone's willing to share how they got started or what they did. And so it was really awesome that this girl opened a boutique. She was super successful and she wrote a book about it, and I bought her book and I did all the legwork. So
well, and two, you've got to be careful. So, I did kind of, as Vicki can tell you, I'm normally like a really long-term planner.
yes.
But I knew that where my problem was going to be is I was going to research it to death if I didn't take a step in, right? So I will say some of you I know have talked about starting your own YouTube channel. And one of the things that I learned really quickly there is, do your research into what you need and don't need. I probably spent a little bit more on equipment that's sitting over there now because it wasn't practical. The other thing is, yes, ask for advice, but be careful who you ask it from, because some people don't want anyone else doing what they're doing, and they're worried about being competition, or they're further along and they started a lot earlier. So you started in, was it 2021 when you started your business?
I started
2020.
My 1 year was December 1st of 2020.
Okay.
So I've been open 1 year and 3 days.
1 year and 3 days. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's right after the bug hit everybody, right?
Yeah.
So and I
Which
started
was also terrifying to do.
Yeah. So I started, I guess, July. Scott can probably tell better than I can because I just hit the record button. And it's one of those things where no matter what you're trying to do, like especially on YouTube, and I guess really what you're doing too, you've got to decide, is this a hobby, or is this something that you want to work yourself into being a full-time something, which is what I'm trying. So if you were to go back, they heard this and you were at day one again, what would you do differently, or is there anything you would do differently?
Honestly, like I don't think I would do anything much differently. I've learned a lot. But a lot of the stuff that I've done is like, I think authentic to me and authentic to what I want my brand to be. And I did a ton of research before I opened, but also I didn't. I just eventually had to be like, all right, today's the day. Like, I'm going to pick a date and we're going to open. It was like now or never type of thing. But honestly, I wouldn't change much because I did my research and I knew what needed to be done. And so my advice for anyone would just be, make sure that number one, it's something that you really want to do. And if you're going to invest the time and the energy and the money, that it's worth it. I did start my boutique with just $1,500. So I didn't have a lot of money to work with. So I had to really be conscious of like, how can I make this little amount of money stretch into
as far as I can?
What I want this to be. But I also knew like, this is my budget. What can I do? So I curated small collections where I only release like 4 or 5 items at a time. Now my collections are like 8 to 10 items. But at first I would only release like 1 or like 3 to 4 items at a time. And when it sold out, it sold out. So then people would just get on there and like buy things up. And then I could like put the money back into the business, and I wasn't making any money. So that part was hard because in my mind I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this business
and you're going to make a ton of money and it's all going to be easy. And
that's not like realistic at all. That's why I work 40 hours a week and then do Everyday Lady every night of the week, outside of that. So.
Which I think, again, part of it is like, okay, well, Tish, I don't want to have a clothing store, but if you want to do, some type of baskets on the end, or you're selling, really anything, or you're trying to do anything on your own, I think the same things apply. How do you talked about you got a full-time job, so how do you structure your time? So like for me, I've got this shouldn't surprise you at all. I've got certain days that I do certain things. So like I know I've got on Friday night, and I love it, the Friday Film Forum. And if you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. We actually do 80s music. So I know at our 80s videos and 80s movies. I know at some point I need to rewatch that because I forget things. So that is always my Thursday night thing. There's Scott does something called Trials of the Century that I'm not going to miss. That's on my Wednesday. So Saturday is always my writing scripting. Sunday is always this one. So I know I'm going to film on Mondays or Tuesdays. But how do you decide where your time's going to be spent? Because
Well,
I can imagine you could let it overtake your life, and you
oh,
are married, and you've got parents and family that you want to spend time with as well.
yes, and my job is pretty intense. I'm an executive assistant for a city councilwoman here in
Yeah,
Murfreesboro.
she's putting her politics, and I'm just like, whew.
Yeah, so I'm in
Yeah,
politics, and that itself is just it's a lot of work. Like she'll send me a
yeah.
list this long, and like this week we have to do all these things, and I'm like, oh god. But she's
You're like,
very
I don't know where I'm going to put this. Yeah,
yeah. But the reason she hired me is because she's like, you're amazing, and I want like an empowered woman to work for me. So she's super supportive, which helps. But Sunday is like Everyday Lady Day. I dedicate my full day, but I have a really big love for like social. I love to go out and be social. Me and
hmm
my husband, we love to go to like sporting games and things like that. So I just dedicate usually every Sunday, and then my launches are typically on Saturday, so that way on Sunday I can fill the orders, and I know that I'm off. But my weekends are really consumed of Everyday Lady, and then my weekdays are consumed of regular work, and sometimes my
yeah,
weeknights are consumed of Everyday Lady. But I do try to. I use a Google Calendar, and it's color
yeah,
coordinated, and that is my lifeline. But I have a flexible job to where I don't have to be in an office sitting down like I was before every single day. So if I need to film a reel or take some photos, or if I have clothing coming in, I can come home and do what I need to do for a few hours and then go do what else I need to do. So I luckily have the ability to do that.
Well, and with me, I'm kind of the opposite. And Vicky can tell you, she knows what my schedule's been like for the last few years. I might not be in the same state from one day to the next. So, but I kind of do the same thing. Like I know where my pockets are going to be,
Yeah.
and I used to joke, and I know Vicky's going to laugh because she's heard me say this, as I'm a non-recovering workaholic,
Yeah.
because I tend to like to work a lot, and if I'm not careful, I won't spend time with my animals, I won't spend time with my husband, I won't spend time with the 10 grandkids. Believe it or not, there's been another one since last we talked. So you've really got to find that balance, and I think it's, yeah, you can go all in on something, but when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Mm-hmm. And I will say part of the reason that I left the corporate world was because I wanted to focus more on my dreams and my goals. And part of that was taking a job that gave me more flexibility.
Yeah, yeah.
And that had a huge part in me taking that job and leaving
Yeah,
banking.
and we both loved I love my job. I mean,
Yeah, I loved my
and you
job.
loved your job too. Yeah, it wasn't that we were unhappy with what we are. The company we worked for was great. That and the company I work for still is great. I wouldn't trade it for anything because I really like what I'm doing.
I loved
But
that job, and I worked really hard to get where I
yeah,
was. And sometimes I think
yes,
people thought I was crazy when I was like, I'm leaving banking and I'm going to go be an executive assistant for someone. They're like, wait, you're going to do what? And I'm like, yeah, like, and I'm going to open a boutique and I'm just going to do my
I
own thing.
remember when I heard you were leaving, I'm like, what are you doing again? So, and I think that's the thing too, where if and I'm going to get a little political here. I try to stay away from that here. But a lot of times, if you hear a guy say, okay, I'm going to leave and go start my own business, it's kind of like, are you leaving your benefits? Are you leaving? But it's not, are you leaving your security? It's usually a little bit of a different conversation than
Mm-hmm.
if a female's trying to go out and do their own thing in the business world. It's kind of it's questioned just a little bit more, I think. Also, how did you get to where you were comfortable? I mean, you are the face of your brand, and we know how brutal that the
Yeah.
internet can be. We know how brutal some of our friends can be that we have in common. They
Yeah.
give great feedback and they're honest, which is fabulous. But you have to have thick skin for the feedback.
That's why I
So
like sit here and worry about my hair.
yeah, no, you're beautiful. We know that. But how did you get comfortable? Because like for a while for me, at first I was doing everything without being on camera, but then I'm like, okay, because I'm not a supermodel, I'm not any of that stuff. I'm very smart. I will own that. But then I was like, yeah, that's not going to get my personality across. There are people that do faceless ones that are amazing. Scott's one of them, but Scott's super, super talented. Like he could be, you could hear him read the encyclopedia from start to finish, and it's awesome, right? So
Yeah.
how did you get to where you were comfortable with doing that?
Honestly, I just knew from the beginning that that was going to be part of the plan. At first, I thought maybe I'll get some models, but then in my mind, I was like, girl, you don't have any money to pay a model.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to do it. And then luckily, I am in a women's networking group here called Rutherford Cable. And our whole mission is moving women forward. So I was like, hi, would anyone love to model for me? Because I'm starting a boutique and I really want like women in our community to be the models and be the face. I'll also do it with you. So I have a 3X model or a 2X model, myself who's a medium, and then one of my other friends who's like a large, extra large. Us three are the models, and they totally volunteered. But I just knew it was important for me to be authentic to who I am. It was important for me to show what like a normal average person looks like. And I thought that if I didn't present it as like me being the model, that would take away from that, if that makes sense. Like
from the authenticity of it.
and it's
Yeah.
to me, it's just really important that like people know who I am and understand like how much I love what I'm doing. And to do that, the only person that can do that is me. So
Yeah. Let's get comments that I kind of noticed. Allegra said, be sure and check her stuff out. Yes, really great
thanks, Allegra.
stuff. The question's going to come up. Are you doing anything international yet, or is it all local? Or is it all in the
Right
States?
now I'm only shipping in the United States. That's only because I haven't really learned like that's part that I haven't really learned yet. It's like how international shipping works with taxes and all of that part. But that is something that I have a goal this year of learning.
Well, and something you said too about, going to the cable, which is kind of a female networking group in the States. A lot of states have them. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Oh, yeah.
Help. You're going to have to know you get the feedback with the help.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of the thing. But most people are, more than willing to help other people. I've met some fabulous people in the community. I'm sure you have in this community as well.
Oh, I feel like I used to be so scared to ask, and now I'll just be like, does anyone have any clothing racks that I could buy? And then people will just be like, I have some you can have. Like, I haven't used them, so just don't be afraid to say, hey, does anyone have this? Because you'll just be surprised at who is actually willing to help you.
KP, love this human focused concept. Thank you. I'm trying to bring things that are, of value that either you can use, somebody else can use. And, like I said, I think anything we're saying would apply to YouTube. It would apply to if you wanted to do taxes, if you're doing flower arrangement, if you're doing I think it applies to really anything. Donna said she added it to her favor. She's going to check back later. Thank you, Donna. So Vicki T has a question. How many vendors do you use?
I use just like 3 different vendors right now.
Okay.
Through the
So
fashion.
how did you decide from a practical and an ethical standpoint who was good enough for your brand to use? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that part is hard because I have gotten stuff from brands and been like, this is not the fabric that you told me that it was, and I'll just send it back. Like, I do not
Okay.
give them a message. But really it's because I have them send it to me prior, touch it, feel it, make sure it is what they say it is. Because I've had vendors say that this item's 100% cotton and that's why it costs more. And then I get it and it's not 100% cotton. And I'm like,
this isn't it.
Yeah.
This isn't good. And Rihanna, is this private label or wholesale? So
I'm wholesale right now.
Okay. Right now. That is the way she said that. I'm wholesale right now.
I mean, I would love to eventually private label my clothes.
Yeah. What is a small in the US? And then Liberty kind of right behind that said, a small is typically a 4 to 6. Is that the case?
Yes. Sometimes some vendors will do a 2 to 4, but I don't mess with those vendors because I don't think that's an extra small. Like that's not a
Yeah, that's not small. Um,
pupper siding.
upper side, yeah, I'm sorry, Thor,
Oh,
I've got 4, and he's locked himself out is what he's done because he accidentally shut the door when he went out, so all 4 of them are literally outside my office door saying, "What's going on?" Donna, yeah, Doggy, that's the one that doesn't bark, so, he's pretty good. Air fryer's the bomb, Sheila, yes, we ought to just have a conversation on that one point. B said she checked out the store and it looks great, thank you very much.
thanks.
Let's see. Linda DB, somebody stole the domain name URL wanted when I started business. So frustrating. So something about that. It depends on which has that URL or domain name. Sometimes if someone's got it, they're not using it, you can actually buy it from them.
Yes.
I had to do that because somebody had Trish in Tennessee, which a lot of people call me Trish by accident. So I wanted to grab that one too, and I ended up paying like 100 extra bucks to me because the Tish in Tennessee part. Um, let's see, Catherine, love Tish and everyone singing on karaoke screams. Yeah, we had karaoke screams, and I'm going to tell you, the quality of it probably was not what you think, but it was hilarious and it was fun. So it was just, because we talked about earlier when what we say and what you guys hear is a little bit behind. So you can imagine when people singing at different time frames, but it was the best thing ever. And Scott started that. Chris Mullen is a new YouTube member. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think you'll find a lot of here. Let's kind of go back to um, Vicky T said, need to show it to their oldest daughter. Yeah, because I think too, the other piece to that is if you want to be somewhat conservative and you're younger, I think it's hard.
Yeah.
I've gone shopping with my youngest granddaughter, and it's an incredible mess, if that makes sense, trying to find her something that she wants to wear or that she can even at school.
Yeah.
So, because again, we're Southern, we tend to be in the middle of the Bible Belt, and we're still the put your hands down by your shorts.
No
So it
holes
tends
in
to
your
be
pants above your kneecap, okay?
the kneecap. That's right. Let's see what else we got. May the Fae, now you're paying it forward. Yes, absolutely. I think that's really important. Um, if you found something that works for you, reach out and teach it to somebody. And it may not work for them, but there may be a piece of what you're talking about that may work for them as well. Vicky T, and I'm new to kind of running this behind the scene thing by myself. Vicky T, looking at tops, pants, and sweaters right up her alley. Works in MT where it's cold. Yes, and it's cold here to me. Vicky will tell you it's not cold. It's cold here to me.
Oh, it's it's cold.
I know it's ridiculous. Um, Sheila, better started than never done. Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line between not researching something when there's high risk, right? Which $1,500 to me is a whole lot of money. That's a high risk. 10,000 maybe to somebody
Well,
else.
most
500
people
maybe to
start
somebody
a
else.
boutique with like 10K.
Yeah,
And so at first I was really discouraged. I was like, I'm never going to be able to do this, but I did. So
yeah,
it's fine.
and it's not fast fashion either, which is kind of a good point.
Yes, I did not want fast fashion. That is something that's super important to me.
Yeah, Allegra said, it's pressing 1,500 into what she's created. Now go Vicky, smart business plan. Yeah, and I mean, in the US, generally it's a high percentage that fail, but I think part of it is when you start something, you're going to fail at it,
Yeah.
right? So, like the stream not starting when I hit the button, for example, that could be something I'm really upset about, or I could just kind of like, okay. It's YouTube gremlins trying to get in the way. But, just because you fail in one aspect of it doesn't mean you're failing in everything. It may mean, for example, TikTok might not be the best platform for you to go on with what you're trying to do. For me, it's not. It just gives me a headache. For you, though, makes more sense to be on TikTok, Instagram, all the platforms. Yeah, I will put the website in the description on the replay so you guys can find it. Allegra, a job, a store, and city council, it's full plate. Yeah, and the city council, in a political realm here that can be pretty. I grew up in it, as you guys know. My dad was a judge in the political environment, and the Nashville, Murfreesboro area can be pretty vicious.
Yeah.
Kind of so. Linda B said, Tish, good reminder. Saying yes means rebalancing. Yeah, because every time you say yes to something, by contrast, you're saying no, right? Life balances itself out whether we want it to or not.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to take care of yourself, which I'm not great at, but I'm trying to get better at doing. So, liberty of death. I need to hear that when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Balance is so important. It's easy to lose. Yep. And you don't want to be where you're, I don't think there's any, I mean, my grandmother's 104, right? There's nothing to me about too late or old, but the earlier you can learn some of the stuff and the earlier you can help people learn it, the better. Donna Tripp said phone book. Yeah, Scott could read the phone book. I think he could say the alphabet in every single language and everybody would be great. We'd have no idea what he was saying, but it would be perfect. Linda B, love the angles you provide and how they switch. It's not just the same pose over and over again. So what made you decide to do your website? I know you, how did you decide to do the structure you were going to put to it?
Well, at first I was like doing it, on my iPhone, and me and my husband would go to a little local like park, and it was just me, and he would like take photos of me on my iPhone, and I posted them on a website. And luckily I have super supportive friends and family, and I sold out of my first collection. Well, then I met with that business coach, and she made me feel like crap. She was like, your angles are weird. Your quality of your photos isn't good. But I told her I'm not going to change the angles. So I was just wanting to kind of do something different. So
Yeah.
some of the websites that I look at, like they're doing all these weird things with their arms, which is cool. I just like, I'm not going to do that. But I wanted to like put poses where you could see it from the front, side, and back. That way you could just kind of see like,
you know what it actually is going to look like on you.
yeah, what a normal body looks like, instead of just like a close up of just the shirt. Like I wanted my full body in it. And the business coach, she was like, you shouldn't put your full body in it. You need to focus on the item of clothing. And I was like, no, I want people to be able to see what it looks like when you're wearing it. So
well, and also rather than just drop shipping, and Donna Tripp brought this up. She said, that the fabric is important. So you actually know how it's going to feel as well.
yeah,
As
like
how
it's
it does.
here. My inventory is in my house. Like I do not drop ship because I want to feel it, make sure there's no, I've gotten clothes with holes in it and all kinds of crazy stuff. So no.
Like Sheila said, Forever 21 lasts less than 21 days.
Yeah.
But she also said, I made sure once I decided on my online name, I claimed it on all platforms. Yes.
Yes. I'm Shop Everyday Lady everywhere.
And even platforms that don't, there's a new VTube coming out that is getting some attention. There's Rumble, for example, getting some attention. Anywhere you can claim that, you go ahead and claim it. A little behind at the moment, but great perspective on failure. Yeah. Failure is not, if you have to get to a point to where you look back and things that didn't go well or felt like a failure, you have to think, because if that didn't happen, you might not have learned something that you needed for later.
Yeah.
And in that, there's no such thing as failure unless you just don't start again. Allegra, keep tossing Vicki's website up in the chat. It'd be great to post under. I will absolutely do that. I'm not as coordinated to do it as we're going yet, but I will. Catherine, I can't think of a good name that hasn't been taken somewhere. So ask some of your friends and then start Googling. So I don't know what you're thinking about starting, Catherine, but if you're thinking about starting YouTube, go out there and see, if you're going to use your name, can you put something extra on it? Like there's a couple of other Tishes on YouTube, oddly enough, because I never run into somebody with my name hardly, but ask your friends, just throw out things that seem to make sense. Try some acronyms of your name and see what that does as well. Vicki is, oops, I almost missed that one. Is it still a goal to open a physical boutique? How far and rather how big are you looking towards?
Oh, it is definitely a goal to open a physical boutique. I know that would entail me quitting my job and ultimately working only for myself, which I'm 100%. I have that as like a 5-year plan right now. So I am looking very far ahead. I had a 3-year plan and a 5-year plan. So my 5-year plan is to have a boutique. There are stores where you can put your like boutique in a little booth. Like we have one here in
Okay.
Murfreesboro called the Painted Tree. And so you go in and
I
there's
think I've heard of that.
all
Yeah.
these different booths and all these boutiques. And I've had several people ask me, like, why don't you put your business in something like that? Because I can make way more money. People would just be buying my clothes. But again, it's all about my brand. Like, I don't want people to be like, I bought that at Painted Tree. I want them to be like, I bought that at Everyday Lady. So yes.
Well, and I think too, there's something about getting big too fast.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons, for example, I've started with my YouTube channel doing a few rather than trying to do a bunch of just the number of content. That's part of why I have my stream. Sunday nights is not exactly the best night to stream, but that's kind of why I'm streaming there, because I want to learn and make mistakes, or not because it doesn't matter. It does, but if you get too big too fast, then you don't learn how to sustain it.
Yes.
And, you and I have seen, because we used to work with small businesses, and the big thing for me I could tell you if a small business was going to fail if they weren't prepared to grow fast, if they weren't prepared for an explosion. So it's kind of intentional to start slow sometimes and kind of let it go. Sheila, if you aren't trying hard enough. Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
and I go back and forth because online obviously isn't going anywhere, but also on the like failure thing, it has been boutiques. I mean, fashion in general, it is a very saturated market. It is very competitive. There are a million people selling clothes that you can
Yeah.
get. You can Google. I mean, I'm probably nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
locally in my community, people literally will be like, "Oh, Everyday Lady," and like wave at me. So that's why I want to end
But
up.
even at that, the one magazine that picks you up. I have a friend that sold cookies that they hand cranked for years until Southern Living magazine, which is a huge magazine in the
Yeah.
States, picked it up and all of a sudden had to speed everything up. So yeah. One more I saw I starred. Let me get back up there. Maybe.
I think that's all of them.
Is that all of them? I think so. But I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, guys. Sorry we went a little bit over. I really do try to kind of stay on time as much as I can. But that things happen, right? And we learn as we go. So, Vicki, I want to say thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Next Sunday we're going to start the YouTube God or God's willing. Vicki Terry said I told my husband dinner was 1 hour early so I can enjoy you in the chat. I am so honored. That's awesome. Tell your husband thank you for being understanding. Next week, I'm pretty excited. We are going to have a mod stream. So I've asked some of the mods that you guys love, and if you are a mod in anybody's channel and you want to come on, I still have some points. But a lot of times you think, oh, I want to mod a channel, and then it's called getting a wrench. So if you look on a regular computer, Vicki, some people have a wrench by their name, which means they're a mod. And then it's kind of like, okay, now I'm a wrench. I got a wrench. Great. Now what do I do? Because it's like there's not exactly a book that's going to tell you what to do. Plus, I just want to celebrate some of the people that I know who do a fantastic job in a lot of different channels. Following that, I'm going to have Jason Elkins. This is one that might interest you, Vicki. He actually networks. His whole business is networking and social media.
Oh,
Period.
yeah.
That's all he does. It's called 50 Cups. Will not be streaming on Christmas, but then we'll pick up a little bit later. So, Vicki, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
I definitely want to say thank you to May the Fae. She said, I have no doubt whatever your goal will be, you'll get there. You shine talking about it. Thank you so much. I did want to like plug my social media. So
absolutely.
Instagram is at Shop Everyday Lady. Facebook, Shop Everyday Lady. My website, shopeverydaylady.com. Like Tish said, I'm a one woman show. Started it all from scratch. But truly, if you want to do something, you can make it happen. You just got to be realistic with your goals, realistic with like your money that you have and how to get there. And
I'll put this channel to all your social media. And for those of you that follow me on Twitter, I will put it on Twitter as well. And I'm Tish in Tennessee 1. For those of you that are not, I don't have a my social media Facebook presence quite yet. It's there. I just haven't turned it on. But we'll make sure that we get that out there. So thank you guys for staying. Thank you, Scott, for the rescue as always. I don't know what I'd do without him. He's awesome. And Vicki, if you want to hang on just a little bit, we're going to end. Everybody have a good night, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.